Hari Om, my dear divine soul, greetings and salutations. I am selecting a specific phrase or topic and endeavoring to analyze it through the philosophical framework of the Bhagavad Gita, presenting my insights for your esteemed consideration. Today's topic is a force for good. The concept of being a force for good in the light of the Bhagavad Gita embodies the ideals of dharma, which is righteous duty, seva, which is selfless service, and compassion as expressions of divine consciousness in human form. The Bhagavad Gita calls upon individuals to act selflessly, dedicate their actions to the divine, and serve the world without attachment, thereby transforming personal and collective life into a divine offering. At its essence, to be a force for good means to live and act in alignment with universal principles that uphold, nurture, and uplift all beings. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 3, verse number 21, Krishna tells Arjun, whatever action is performed by a great person, common people follow. Whatever standards they set, the world pursues. This verse underscores the influence and impact of righteous action. Acting as a force for good establishes a standard for others to emulate, creating a ripple effect that can uplift society. The Bhagavad Gita offers profound insights into how one becomes a force for good by embracing the core principles of selfless action, non attachment, and the pursuit of wisdom. Each of these elements shapes a path of goodness that transcends personal gain and transforms one's actions into a divine service to humanity. By following this path, an individual contributes to the welfare of the world, guided by divine consciousness rather than egoistic motives. Point number one, selfless action, which is Nishkam Karma. Krishna emphasizes the importance of Nishkam Karma or selfless action as a means to serve the greater good. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse number 19, Krishna states, therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. When one performs duties without selfish desires, actions become channels through which divine good flows into the world. Such actions are fueled by a purity of intent that transcends personal benefit, thus benefiting the collective welfare. Point number two, non attachment, which is asang. Krishna repeatedly emphasizes non attachment as a vital aspect of spiritual maturity. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 2, verse number 47, Krishna advises, you have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. This teaching implies that detachment from outcomes frees one from ego driven motives, allowing the individual to act in harmony with divine will. Non attachment dissolves the narrow ego and aligns the individual with universal consciousness, thereby transforming one's actions into a force for collective upliftment. Point number three, wisdom and compassion, which is Gyan and Karuna. Krishna underscores the importance of wisdom and compassion as guiding principles for good actions. A wise person sees the divine in all beings, recognizing the interconnectedness of life. A wise person sees the divine in all beings, recognizing the interconnectedness of life. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 6, verse number 32, Krishna describes the ideal yogi. He who, through the likeness of the self, he who, through the likeness of the self, sees equality everywhere, whether in pleasure or in pain, is considered a perfect yogi. This vision of oneness fosters compassion, compelling the individual to act for the well being of others. Seeing their own self in others, joy and suffering. Through these teachings, Krishna articulates a path by which one becomes a channel of divine good, acting from a place of unity, love, and transcendence of the ego. When individuals embody this vision, their presence and actions radiate harmony, upliftment, and inspiration, contributing to the spiritual and material progress of society. Now, let us see a few examples to understand a force for good topic better. Example number one, Arjun's transformation. This primary example from the Bhagavad Gita is Arjun himself, who initially resists fighting in the war due to his attachment to family and fear of committing harm. However, upon realizing his higher duty as a warrior upholding dharma, he transforms into a force for good by aligning his actions with divine will. Krishna's teachings inspire him to transcend personal emotions and engage in his righteous duty, thus becoming an instrument of divine justice and righteousness. This transformation represents how every individual, upon renouncing personal desires, can act as a force for good by aligning with universal dharma. Point number two, the sage King Janak Krishna also mentions the sage King Janak as an exemplar of selfless duty in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 3, verse number 20. Krishna is stating, even kings like Janak attained perfection by performing prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. King Janak ruled his kingdom with wisdom and detachment, always prioritizing the welfare of his subjects over personal gain. His life demonstrated how individuals in positions of influence could be forces for good by governing selflessly and in harmony with divine principles. His reign reflected the ideals of compassion, wisdom, and service, thus uplifting his kingdom. Point number 3, Mahatma Gandhi, a modern day example of a force for good, aligned with the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, is Mahatma Gandhi, drawing inspiration from the Gita's doctrine of selfless service and non-violence. Gandhi led India's struggle for independence with the spirit of Nishkam Karma. His leadership transcended personal ambition and was rooted in a commitment of justice, non-violence, and compassion for all. Embodying the vision of a life dedicated to the greater good. Through his life and actions, Gandhi became a beacon of truth and a force for positive transformation, both in India and globally. To conclude, the concept of being a force for good from the standpoint of the Bhagavad Gita encapsulates the transformative potential of selfless action, wisdom, and non attachment. Acting as a force for good is not limited to heroic acts. Rather, it is a conscious commitment to live in alignment with divine will, serving others, and upholding dharma in everyday life. By transcending personal desires and acting with compassion, every individual can become a vessel for divine grace, radiating a goodness that positively impacts the world. The Bhagavad Gita envisions such lives as reflections of the divine itself, guiding humanity toward unity, peace, and spiritual evolution. Hari Om.